Hello, my name is Shawn Whatley from Leadership and Management Block 2, Colorado Christian University. Um, Today I am presenting some information that I've gathered about leadership, mentorship, motivation and change in organizations through an interview that I had with Pastor Bobby Aragon of New Beginnings Church of Pueblo, Colorado. Um, Pastor Bobby and I discussed many topics in regards to leadership. And the first topic the first question I asked Pastor Bobby was, in his experience as a pastor, um, what are some things that motivate people? Pastor Bobby would say that most people are motivated when you give them hope. Pastor Bobby is a drug addiction counselor on top of being a pastor, so he deals with a lot of people that have no hope in the world, that are lost, that are struggling, and that have their lives have become unmanageable. So Pastor Bobby says he gives them to give them hope of recovery is a huge motivating factor in his profession, and just leading those people to recovery. And as far as another example he gave me was when planning church retreats, um, just just letting the people know what the reason is why they're having this church retreat or this conference or whatever it may be, this worship night. Um, he says also another motivating factor is that brings out the best in people is putting people in the right place, giving them the right work to do. In the secular world, he would say that pay is a huge motivating factor. Um, but as far as volunteers go in the church, um, just doing things that would empower them, whether it be words of encouragement, prayer, also just trusting in their skills, putting them in that place, just with wisdom, letting just showing them that yes, he trusts in their abilities. Also letting them know that they're part of a team, and just that they have a greater purpose behind whatever project it is that they're doing. And the next question I asked Pastor Bobby was, has he done a good job in motivating workers? He would say yes, and I'd ask him why. Pastor Bobby responded by saying that you have to take what you have, and sometimes you don't have the best supplies or the most experienced people. So that's why motivation, that's why he believes that he's done a great job motivating people, because he's taken what he's been given, and he's raised people into leadership roles over the years. Most of the people that he works with to this day are people that started in the church with him. Also, just the hands-on approach that he brings to leadership also is a great shows that he's done a great job motivating people. The next question I asked Pastor Bobby was, who are some good leaders and some bad leaders in his experience, and what did he learn from both of them? Because I believe that we have to learn both from our experiences with good leaders and bad leaders. Um, one mentor that Pastor Bobby mentioned was Pastor Bobby Wilson, whom he worked under at Praise Assembly of God. And the couple of things that Pastor Bobby taught Pastor Bobby was that you have to finish what you start, and you have to finish it well. He taught that there must be also the motivation must be in the right place. Um, some bad leadership that he's had have just come from secular managers that impose their leadership, that because they have a certain title, they feel like that's their power is through their position. And he says that those leaders typically don't last, so he really tries not to follow their example, but he does learn how not to be. I asked him if leadership has been a rewarding or a difficult experience. He would say it's rewarding, but you also have to learn through trial and error to find your style of leadership. His I asked him a little bit about his leadership style. It's more of a coaching, just a real high motivation, getting people fired up. And he says, some people, not everybody's going to like your style, whatever style of leadership that you find is best suited for you. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions. So he would say that as far as being a rewarding or a difficult experience, he would say it's about a 70-30 ratio. Um, I asked him what his greatest lessons have been as a pastor and even as an addiction counselor. He says that being a pastor and a counselor, these type of occupations, they're not jobs, but they're callings, um, which is about 90% is calling. And then it's not about money, it's not about position or compliments from people. As far as him being the pastor, it's about doing your part, and is about working with people who want to be better in life, who want to get better, who want to improve their lives. He says that one big success has been just focusing on individual people. He said that leaders lead and show an example by getting their hands dirty, by hands-on, not looking down on any person, but just being among them, being a part of them, and leading from that position has been a great lesson to him. Um, he says that people, they want to be shown appreciation. They want to show that they're cared for, and it's not easy sometimes, but it's part of just the growth of being a leader. I asked him just some characteristics that he would think of a good follower. Um, he said one of the main characteristics of a good follower would be a teachable attitude, someone that doesn't know everything and can always that always feels like they could get better. Um, I would have to agree with him on this, and we discussed this for a little bit. That that's pretty much all it takes to be a good follower, is to learn from people, to know, to develop wisdom, to know the things that you should not adopt into your character, into your leadership style, um, and then just the people over you, and their characteristics develop leadership, and that's one of the biggest characteristics of a good follower. Um, I asked him about just responding to change, um, and just how a follower, um, what his idea of a good follower responding to change. He replied by saying that followers are going to move into leadership. Um, and he said there are three things that contribute to that actually help the change process. And he says the three things are to communicate what you plan, and then follow up what you plan, and then just making sure, just checking to see what's done constantly, what is not done, and then organizational skills are also a big thing. Pastor Bobby's son Micah is a worship leader in his church, and he says one thing that he struggled with is organizing a plan and scheduling, and the value of that, of organization and planning and following up. Um, Micah is a very talented individual, and I also was discussing with Pastor Bobby that yes, I also struggle with that, and sometimes I rely on my talent as well as Micah relies on his talent to get him through. But he says that talent can't get you away with everything forever. and it's all about following up with others, getting them on the same page. It takes balance and it takes time, but balance is the key to responding to change well. Another example he gave me was some additions he was making to his garage in his home. Um, Even though his the worker hasn't responded to him in a while and he's taken a while, Pastor has his he has his plan all ready to go. He's ready for when that when he calls him, that he'll be ready and he'll have everything all set. I asked him about faith and how that makes a difference. And just Pastor kind of discussed with me just watching the growth, monitoring the growth of in people, and just believing um, that there's a greater that God has a purpose behind um, everything that He's doing, and the people that He's raising, the leaders that He's raising up, the followers that He's guiding, um, and um, and just the fact that God is working in him and through him to just to lead well, and he also mentioned three type of people that enter the church, enter into his church. He says there are people that are there for a reason, for a season, and some that are there for a lifetime. Um, he says no matter what the reason they're there for or how long they're there for, um, faith just shows just makes a big difference in showing that it's an investment into lives of people that he's making when by providing a place for people to worship, um, and just showing people that this is the place where they need to be and a place where they want to worship God. Um, I asked him about mentorship and what his mentorship style, or what his view of mentorship is. He says that his is a more hands-on, practical approach. He says he's got a coaching style. I believe he was a high school basketball coach for a while, for many years. Um, he says that three things: instill, organize a plan, and follow up. Um, he As far as leadership in his church goes, he has certain requirements that one of his requirements to move into leadership is to first take a 2-year Bible school. This is like a weekly um, Bible school, and it's just to provide that solid foundation. Um, Also, another thing pastors learned is to, as far as being a mentor to people, it's not take things personal, because sometimes people um, that are being mentored, they have their different um, issues that they have, and he said that's a big way of how you develop your style. It's just learning through trial and error. Um, and then I asked him just finally, my last question was, what has his experience been with change? And he says obviously change takes time, that small steps are better, and so that in order to not overwhelm people with big changes quickly. Also talking about the benefits, how it benefits people. One thing it made me think of was showing people what's in it for me. These changes that you're making, what's in it for me. Also accepting those that will not change. I work at a grocery store, and I work with a lot of longer tenured employees, and when change comes around, they don't really embrace it. He says just to let them be a part of the success and not a problem. He says the defiant ones, let them run their course. And then just he also brought up an example from his counseling role, and he says that he'll get used to things going a certain way, and they'll change everything. And he says he just has to remind himself that this is going to make him better. It's going to sharpen him. It's going to challenge him. Another thing that also helps with change is in leadership. As far as leadership goes, is that you can't pick the people. That they're the people that you have, and then you have to just find those that you can create something with and that are teachable, and then you just have to you know um, best way to put this would be to just accept the fact that there's going to be those that are not teachable, that are not willing to embrace change. Thank you very much for your time.